short-term rentals in Miami, the ultimate real estate goldmine or a ticking time bomb? Today we're uncovering the hidden truths behind Miami's short-term rental market that could save you from a costly mistake. Stay tuned because what you're about to learn could change your investment strategy forever. My name is Felipe Ayubi from eXp Realty and Ayubi Team Realtors, specialized here in the Miami real estate market. If you're looking to buy, invest, sell your property here in Miami, please feel free to get in touch with me. All my information will be in the description below. That way we can set up a virtual call. We can set up a time to call. You can get in touch with me in the best way possible on all my social medias. And that way I can help you out in the best way possible. So let's get started with this super important topic that we're going to go into today that might be even a little controversial. Short-term rental properties have always been something that everyone has been craving about. Everyone has learned about. Airbnb is what really made short-term rental properties super common. And what they're made to do is to compete in what is the hotel style market. Now, short-term rental properties can be either very good or very bad. But we have to look at the bigger picture, exactly what's going on here in Miami and how that can affect you in either a positive or negative way. And in this case, Miami is shaping up to have a negative impact on what is short-term rental properties for your investment. So let's get into details with that. First off, let's talk about the regulations. Miami has strict laws when it comes to short-term rentals. I mean, depending on the neighborhood, it can vary, but you can get very hefty fines or legal action if you don't comply with the legal ordinances of the area or of the city. You know, this can turn a great investment into a legal nightmare. And these are specific things that we have to keep in mind. Nowadays, there are developments and pre-construction projects that have these transient properties or these short-term rental properties that are licensed that will give you pretty much the no restriction rental properties. And yes, even though that can seem to be very good, it gives the illusion and it is not as good as it is. In these future properties, really, which is in total around 6,000 units that Miami will have in short-term properties, it's going to create a lot of competition. The competition already in Miami is very fierce. You know, and we have to take into consideration that not only are Airbnb or short-term rental properties competing within each other, but they're competing with some of the greatest hotels that are in the whole United States and in the world. So keeping all this in mind is going to create even more competition, and in turn will drive the prices down, will drive what our occupancies down, and that will affect your investment in a negative way if you're looking for a return in a rental property. So these are very important things to keep into consideration when looking at these short-term rental properties, where they're located and how many are going to be done in that specific area that you're looking for. There are many pre-construction projects that have these transient or short-term rental properties that many people have the illusion that it's the best investment that someone can have as a rental property here in Miami. These pre-construction projects, even though have the short-term rental properties license already grandfathered in, which means that Miami, the city of Miami, cannot take them away, has some negative impact. Market saturation here in Miami is something we have to take into consideration. You know, Miami is a hotspot for tourists, and everyone knows that. Everyone has that very prevalent in their mind, which means that there is no shortage of short-term rental properties or hotels here in Miami. The competition is very fierce. That's something to keep in mind. And standing out in a sea of rental properties can be incredibly challenging. So high vacancy rates and the constant need to market your property correctly, to stand out, to get these people to stay in your property can be very challenging and can eat quickly into your profits. You have to take a look as to what's going on here in the future. You know, the whole short-term rental properties in water condos is a brand new concept that the city of Miami hasn't had before up until pretty much this year. Now, in what are these no rental restrictions, short-term rental properties that Miami will be having in terms of projects and developments? There's approximately 6,000 units in what is the greater downtown Miami that are being built that will accommodate these short-term rental properties. Now, there might be even more. You know, the market is continuing to evolve. There's more projects coming out. And what these 6,000 plus units that will come out in the 2 to 5 years will mean is that there will be more competition. It will be even more fierce to get those people to stay in your building, in your unit, and create a higher occupancy, and in turn create that rental that you need. These 6,000 units will actually create a lower occupancy because it's going to be spread out more evenly within all the units. And not only that, the prices will also be driven down, because if one person sees that their rental is not being rented out, they're going to drive the prices down to be able to occupy it, to be able to take over what are the costs, or, you know, eat at what would be the cost that would generate this property. And in turn, if your neighbor dropped the prices to $100 per night for the same unit, same building, well, you're gonna have to drop prices too. Or in the neighboring building that's very similar, or in the area. So these are things to keep into consideration, that a rental property or short-term rental property is going to have these disadvantages from 2 to 5 years when all these other units are going to be built. This is something that I like to talk about with my clients, and all of them say, well, if I don't rent it out short-term, I can rent it out long-term. And even though, yes, you can rent it out long-term for what is a month, 3 months, 6 months, a year contract, these rental properties or these projects, these developments are going to be made to have a lot of foot traffic, a lot of traffic in and out. So a lot of people that will be renting out these units are going to prefer something a little more private, a little more exclusive, a little more residential, in the terms that it's not going to have so much traffic. So that's going to be something to keep in mind, because even though, yes, you can rent it out in a 1-year lease, people are not going to be wanting to stay in something that your neighbor's going to be constantly changing, that you get into the lobby and it's going to be a whole busy amount of people. People want something when it's residential, where it's calm, where the amenities are not going to be packed at all times of the day, where if you want to work, you don't have to worry about hotel guests or what are going to be the short-term rental guests at the business center doing all their, no, a lot of these people are going to want something more catering to their needs as a residential tenant. So these are all things to take into consideration, that even though, yes, you can rent it out long term, and yes, there will be maybe that person that will rent it out that won't mind, you're not going to be able to charge as well as something that is exclusively, let's just say, a month-to-month rent or a yearly rent. A very important thing to take into consideration that I was just kind of lightly mentioning is the impact on your neighbors. Short-term rentals often bring a revolving door of guests, a lot of traffic, which leads to noise complaints, strained relationship in your community. It's gonna bring a lot of wear and tear on the amenities, on the building itself. And due to all these different things, many homeowners associations here, approximately the 99% here in Miami, have strict rules against short-term rentals for that very reason. So if someone buys a property in one of these HOAs that does not allow short-term rentals, it's going to mean that they're going to get hefty fines. And let's just say you are looking for that short-term rental. And let's just say you're not looking for the rental part. You're just looking for a vacation property. That is a great property for a vacation property if you're looking for that. And if you're looking for a short-term rental property, but you're saying, well, all right, 6,000 units, there has to be something different, something special. Yes, there are certain properties and certain projects coming out that are very, very special, that are outliers in what is a short-term rental market. And we can get into that in details, and if you want, look into the description of the video. You'll find all my contact information there, where we can speak in more detail and see exactly what best fits and exactly what type of property is exactly what you're looking for and what'll be the best option for you. But let's continue on with this video. So I spoke lightly about the wear and tear, but short-term rental guests, we have to take in mind, even though, yes, they are paying for the property per night, yes, they do have their card on file in most cases, they're more likely to take less care of the property than a long-term tenant would, And so this is something very important to keep in mind, because the frequent turnover means more cleaning, more maintenance, potential damage. And if any of that happens, it's going to equal more significant costs over time. And if you're looking for something that is going to create some type of cash flow or positive cash flow into your pocket, these costs can be very costly in the future and will affect that. So these are all things to take into consideration. These are things that not a lot of people say, and this is the reason why transient properties are properties that I do not personally like to sell. There are certain projects that I do say, if you're going to get into a transient property, get into these, but it's not all of them that are going to give you any type of benefit or any type of advantage, just a very few select amount. With all the information that I said, let's get into the financial aspect. While short-term rentals can offer higher nightly rates, they also come with higher operating costs. You know, you have to have the cleaning fees to management services, and these expenses can quickly reduce your overall profit, especially during off-peak seasons. You know, when their occupation rate is not high and it's not renting out, you still have to keep and upkeep the property. Now, again, these are all the things that you have to take into consideration when looking. So before you dive into the world of short-term properties, it's essential to weigh these factors. And there are definitely opportunities, like I said, in Miami, which you can definitely take advantage of. But short-term properties might not be the golden ticket that they appear to be. And so if you want to know exactly which are the properties that are not short-term rentals, that would be a great investment, or you want to, or you're completely set on buying a short-term rental property and you're like, listen, I like it, you know, the rental aspect is not what I'm necessarily looking for. I'm just looking for something that will pay itself, or, you know, if anything, I'll have to cover a small fee and have somewhere where I can arrive to in Miami. Well, that is certainly a good option for you. There are certainly options in which you can certainly take advantage of. There are going to be outliers that are going to be generating a sort of higher appreciation and not necessarily a higher rental. But in that case, we can certainly go into more detail in that. Found this video insightful, and if you found it educational, you found it very helpful in what you're looking for, or if you have any questions or need personalized advice, please feel free to get in touch with me. Below in the description is going to be my information. That way you can reach out. We can set up a virtual call. We can definitely see what is the best fit for what you're looking for, the different projects, the different areas. See exactly what Miami has to offer in terms of investment properties or vacational properties as well. And whether you're looking to buy, sell, invest as well, we can certainly take a look at all of that. And that way I can certainly help you make the best decision here in the city of Miami. So without further ado, I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope to see you soon in our upcoming videos. That way you can stay educated and stay in touch with what's going on in the city of Miami and its Miami real estate market. And well, I'll see you on the next one.